Lily Morgan had always been a shadow in the small coastal town of Harborview, and that was exactly how she preferred it. In this place where ocean mist clung to weathered clapboard houses and everyone knew 3 generations of your family history. She had mastered the art of being forgettable. For 7 years she had run Morgan Marine Mechanics from a salt-worn building at the edge of the harbor, fixing boat engines with hands that worked with uncanny precision, as if they remembered. Something no one else could see. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Every morning before sunrise, locals heard the same haunting sound drifting across the water from her workshop, a low, rhythmic humming that seemed to make the fog itself vibrate. They jokingly called it Lily's siren song, suggesting she must be communicating with creatures beneath the waves. If only they knew how close to the truth they really were. Lily was 38, though stress had carved fine lines around her. Eyes that made some think she was older. Her auburn hair was always tied back in a practical knot, and her intense gray eyes carried a watchfulness that discouraged casual conversation. A thin, jagged scar traced her jawline like a signature she couldn't erase, disappearing beneath the collar of the faded navy coverall she wore regardless of season or weather. The townspeople had their theories, of course. Some whispered she'd escaped a violent relationship. Others suspected she was running from financial troubles. Captain Reeves, who ran the charter fishing boats, insisted she had military training, pointing to the way she unconsciously stood at attention whenever the Coast Guard cutter passed through the harbor. But Lily answered only what needed answering, maintaining an invisible barrier that clearly said, "This far and no further." What none of them knew was what lay hidden in the boathouse behind her workshop, concealed by overgrown cypress trees, and a rusted chain-link fence topped with salt-corroded barbed wire. Inside that structure, which appeared on no recent harbor maps, was an experimental submarine, sleek, modified, stripped of military markings, but meticulously maintained. Lily had spent years bringing it back to life, sourcing parts through channels no civilian should know existed, rebuilding systems from memory alone. The vessel had no official designation, no serial numbers, but etched faintly inside the pilot's hatch was a single word: Spectre. Every Sunday night, when the shop closed and the harbor fell into weekend quiet, Lily would slip into that submarine, powering up systems that hummed with deadly efficiency. Her hands would rest on the controls like they were greeting old friends. And for just a moment, the careful mask she wore would slip away. In those moments, she wasn't Lily Morgan the mechanic. She was someone else entirely. On this particular Monday, storm clouds gathered on the horizon, not just weather but something that would shatter the quiet life she'd built. Lily was deep under the submarine's hull, recalibrating the sonar array, when she heard vehicles approaching, not local trucks with their familiar diesel engines, but something heavier, more purposeful, moving with military precision that made her blood run cold. She slid out from under the vessel, wiping grease from her hands with practiced efficiency, as 3 black SUVs rolled up the gravel path. Government plates, tinted windows. 6 figures emerged in perfect synchronization, followed by a young woman in a crisp naval uniform who surveyed the area with the confidence of someone who had found exactly what she'd been searching for. They didn't introduce themselves. The officer simply looked at the submarine, then at Lily, and smiled with the satisfaction of a hunter who had cornered elusive prey. "You're Lily Morgan," she said, not a question. Lily didn't answer, just met. Her gaze with the steady calm that had become second nature after years of hiding in plain sight. The officer's smile widened. "We need to talk." Behind her, hidden under a waterproof tarp, hung the wetsuit Lily hadn't worn in nearly a decade. Still pristine, still waiting. And for the first time in 7 years, Lily felt the past reaching through the shadows to reclaim her. The officer stepped closer, her boots crunching on the crushed shells that lined the path to the boathouse. "We know who you really are, Spectre. And we need your help." The name hit like a physical blow, but Lily's expression never changed. Some secrets, she'd learned, had a way of finding you no matter how deep you buried them. And this one had just walked onto her property, wearing a government uniform and knowing smile. "I think you have the wrong person," she said quietly. But deep in the boathouse, the submarine systems hummed with readiness, and Lily Morgan, the woman who had never existed in any official record, knew her carefully constructed life in Harborview was about to end. The officer's name was Lieutenant Commander Natalie Chun, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had spent years climbing through the ranks of naval intelligence. Her team spread out around the boathouse with practiced efficiency, not threatening but not casual either. They moved like professionals who knew exactly what they were looking for. "This is private property," Lily said, stepping between Chun and the boathouse door. "You don't have a warrant." Chun reached into her jacket and produced a folded document. "Federal authorization under Maritime Security Protocol 23-119. We're investigating reports of unauthorized naval technology in civilian hands." She glanced meaningfully at the tarp-covered shape behind Lily. "That's quite a restoration project you've got there." Lily's jaw tightened. She'd covered every angle, or so she thought. The submarine had been salvaged through channels that were technically legal. The paperwork was buried so deep in naval bureaucracy that it would take years to unravel. But Chun's presence meant someone had been watching, waiting. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "I salvage equipment," she said. "Sonar components, navigation systems. Nothing that dives." One of Chun's men approached with a handheld scanner, sweeping it across the boathouse's exterior wall. It emitted 3 distinct tones in rapid succession. The man looked back at Chun and nodded. Chun's smile never wavered. "The thing about submarines, Ms. Morgan, is they leave signatures, magnetic anomalies, pressure-resistant alloys, specialized ballast systems, even when they're supposedly inoperable." She took a step closer. "Your vessel has been active recently." "Very recently." Lily felt the familiar weight of being hunted, the same feeling that had driven her to disappear 8 years ago. But this time was different. This time she had something to protect, not just her identity but the life she'd built in this quiet harbor town. "You're fishing," she said. "Am I?" Chun pulled out a tablet, swiping to a series of underwater photographs. "Unidentified submersible moving through restricted waters off the Pacific Northwest 3 weeks ago." The navigation pattern matched. Protocols only taught in classified programs. She looked up at Lily, programs that officially never existed. The photo showed a sleek shadow threading through underwater canyons at impossible depths, moving without lights or acoustic signature. Lily recognized the terrain and the piloting. It had been a test run, checking systems after a critical upgrade to the sonar array. She'd thought she was undetectable. "Could be anyone," she said. Chun's expression hardened slightly. "The pilot who navigated that route knew techniques only taught to a very select group of naval operators, Phantom Fleet divers, to be specific. Problem is, Phantom Fleet was disbanded, all records sealed, and every operator either killed in action or," she paused dramatically, "disappeared." The silence stretched between them like a wire under tension. Lily could feel Chun's team analyzing her every micro-expression, looking for the crack that would confirm their suspicions. "There's no Phantom Fleet," she said finally. "Never was." "Officially, you're right." Chun put the tablet away. "But we both know the truth, don't we, Lieutenant Lily Inspector Harlow?" The name, her real name, landed like a punch to the gut. Lillian Harlow had died in the North Pacific 8 years ago, erased from every database, every record, every Official memory. Lily Morgan had been born in her place, quiet and unremarkable, but now the past had found her anyway. Chun stepped closer, lowering her voice. "We're not here to arrest you. We're here because there's a situation developing, and frankly, you're the only pilot alive with the skills to handle it." "I don't pilot anymore," Lily said. "A research submarine is trapped under Arctic ice. Oxygen failing, communications limited. Their submersible pilot panicked when the situation deteriorated. The weather window is closing, and if we don't get them out in the next 14 hours... Chun let the implication hang in the air. Lily turned away, staring at the storm clouds building over the harbor. "Send someone else. We tried. 3 pilots refused the mission. Too dangerous, they said. Deep ice, shifting pressure ridges, limited visibility." Chun's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "One of the scientists down there is Dr. Alexander. Reeves, ring any bells?" Lily's shoulders tensed almost imperceptibly. Alex had been her research partner, her contact in the civilian world during the worst missions Phantom Fleet had ever undertaken. CapCut TTS, script. More than that, he was the godson of her former commanding officer, the boy she'd watched grow from a brilliant, awkward teenager into one of the world's leading marine biologists. Chun noticed her reaction. "He specifically requested you if anything ever went wrong." Syed Spectre was the only pilot crazy enough to dive into impossible conditions and skilled enough to surface again. Lily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of old promises, old loyalties that she'd tried so hard to bury. Behind her, the submarine sat silent but ready, systems checked and power cells charged from her weekly maintenance routine. "How did you find me?" she asked. Chun smiled grimly. "Alex never forgot about you. He's been tracking your movements for years, just in case. When we needed a miracle pilot, he gave us coordinates and a name, Lily Morgan, marine mechanic in Harborview. Said to look for the woman who fixed engines by day and piloted ghosts by night." The team began packing up their equipment, but Chun remained, watching her face in the fading light. "We'll be at the naval station in 2 hours," she said. "Your choice. But if you don't come, good people die." And Alexander Reeves becomes just another casualty of a research expedition that officially never had permission to be there. As the SUVs disappeared down the gravel road, Lily stood alone in the gathering dusk. The storm was moving closer now, lightning flickering on the horizon like camera flashes. Inside the boathouse, her wetsuit hung waiting, and the submarines. Instruments glowed softly in the darkness. For 7 years, Lily Morgan had been invisible, but Spectre was about to resurface. Lily stood in the boathouse for 20 minutes after Chun's team left, staring at the wetsuit hanging on its hook like a discarded skin. The radio on her workbench crackled with weather updates, storm system intensifying, gale force winds, high seas with dangerous currents. Suicide conditions for any normal submarine pilot, but Lillian Harlow had never been normal. She walked to the locked cabinet in the corner, her hands moving with muscle memory to the hidden panel behind the fire. Extinguisher. Inside was everything Chun's team hadn't found: classified dive protocols, encrypted communication devices, and a photo she hadn't looked at in years. The picture showed 5 submarine operators standing in front of an experimental vessel, faces haggard with exhaustion but triumphant. They looked like survivors of something that had never officially happened. In the center, barely 30 and wearing lieutenant insignia, was Lily herself. Next to her stood a young Alexander Reeves, fresh out of graduate school and assigned to her team as a civilian science liaison. She'd promised his godfather she'd bring him home from every mission, and she had, until the day everything went wrong. The encrypted satellite phone buzzed once, a message on the emergency frequency. Only 3 people in the world knew. Lily's fingers trembled slightly as she powered it up. The message was simple: Spectre, need extraction. Grid coordinates follow. Oxygen critical. Alex. He was alive, trapped probably, running out of air, but alive. And he was reaching out to the one person he trusted to get him out of whatever hell he'd found himself in. Lily grabbed the wetsuit and began changing, each movement deliberate and practiced. The material felt strange after so many years, lighter than she remembered, but still perfectly fitted. As she zipped it up, she caught her reflection in the submarine's polished surface. The woman looking back wasn't Lily Morgan anymore. She was Spectre, and Spectre didn't leave people behind. The submarine startup sequence was burned into her nervous system. Ballast systems engaged, life support activated, navigation and sonar arrays spinning to life with a hum that shook the entire boathouse. She'd rebuilt this vessel to be better than military standard, quieter, faster, and equipped with modifications that technically didn't exist. As she submerged into the harbor's dark waters, Lily felt the familiar rush of piloting something that shouldn't be able to navigate as it did. The submarine cut through the water like it was designed for exactly these conditions, systems responding to her touch with precision that bordered on telepathic. The coordinates Alex had sent led to an area of the Arctic Circle officially designated as an international research zone. Unofficially, it was a contested region where countries tested technologies they preferred to keep off official records. If Alex's team was there, they weren't on a sanctioned mission. Lily switched to the encrypted frequency. Research base, this is Spectre, inbound to your position. Static then, Jesus Christ, is that really you? Alex's voice, older and strained. With stress, but unmistakably him. Spectre, we are in deep trouble down here. Ice shelf collapsed, secondary submersible crushed. 4 researchers, minimal oxygen reserves, extraction site compromised. Copy that, research base. What's your situation? 4-person team. Mission went sideways when the ice shelf shifted. We're pinned under a pressure ridge with damaged ballast systems. Primary oxygen supply contaminated. Emergency system gives us 12 hours, maybe less. Lily checked her instruments. The storm was intensifying above and the underwater currents were creating dangerous pressure variations. She'd navigated worse conditions, but never in a vessel she'd rebuilt from salvaged parts and determination. Research base, mark your position with ultrasonic beacons. I'm coming in hot, negative Spectre, it's too dangerous. The ice shelf is unstable, collapse imminent. This is a one-way trip. Lily smiled grimly as she dropped the submarine deeper, navigating through underwater canyons with precision born of thousands of hours at the controls. Alex, you should know better by now. Spectre doesn't do one-way trips. The Arctic waters opened up ahead of her, and she could see the distress beacons. In the darkness, a research submarine wedged beneath a massive ice formation, its hull integrity compromised but still holding. This was why they'd called her. This was the kind of extraction that required someone willing to dive into a death trap and thread the needle between impossible odds and certain death. Lily armed the specialized cutting tools she'd installed. Thermal lances, pressure jets, and a few modifications the military would never approve. Then she maneuvered toward the stricken vessel. Research base, 30 seconds out. Prepare for emergency docking and rapid transfer. Spectre, the ice is too unstable. You can't dock here. Who said anything about docking? Lily positioned her submarine 15 feet from the damaged research vessel, activating the specialized airlock system she'd designed for precisely this kind of rescue. The pressurized transfer tube extended through the frigid water, guided by laser alignment systems that compensated for the shifting ice and currents. Emergency transfer tube deployed. You have 90 seconds to get your team through before the ice shifts again. Through the external cameras, she watched Alex's team sprint through the transfer tube. 3 researchers in emergency dry suits followed by Alex himself, moving with the desperate energy of people who knew death was literally freezing them out. All aboard. Alex's voice crackled through the cum as the airlock sealed behind them. Lily immediately began retreat procedures, the submarine backing away from the damaged research vessel seconds before the ice ridge above it collapsed completely, crushing the abandoned vessel like an aluminum can. Inside the cramped quarters, Alex slumped against the bulkhead, finally allowing exhaustion to show. He pulled off his emergency breather mask and looked toward the pilot's compartment, where Lily sat silhouetted against the instrument lights. 8 years, he said quietly. 8 years, and you still pilot like the laws of physics are just suggestions. Lily's voice came through the intercom, steady and professional. Some things you don't forget, Alex. Some promises you don't break. As they navigated through the treacherous underwater canyons toward safety, Alex realized that the quiet mechanic from Harborview had never really existed at all. She'd been a cover story, a mask worn by someone whose real identity was carved in classified missions and frozen waters. Spectre was back, and that changed everything. The extraction point was a decommissioned oil platform 60 miles outside territorial waters, the kind of place that appeared on no official maps and asked no questions. Lily surfaced the submarine in the platform's concealed docking bay as the Arctic storm raged overhead, her hands steady despite piloting through hell for the past 10 hours. Alex's team was professional enough not to ask questions during the journey, but she could feel them studying her, trying to reconcile the mythical pilot they'd heard whispered about with the woman in the control room. As they transferred to the platform, Alex approached her with something she recognized as both gratitude and concern. "We need to talk," he said quietly. Lily nodded, following him away from the others to where a weathered control room sat at the edge of the platform. Inside, screens displayed real-time satellite data and oceanographic measurements from across the Arctic region. This wasn't just an extraction point, it was a monitoring station for operations that didn't officially exist. "Nice setup," Lily observed, running her fingers along a bank of monitors displaying underwater thermal scans. "Things have gotten complicated since you disappeared," Alex said, settling into a chair that suggested he spent a lot of time here. "Phantom Fleet is officially disbanded, but some of us never really left. We monitor situations that are too sensitive for regular channels." Lily studied his face in the dim light. Alex was 36 now, no longer the eager researcher she'd once protected, but a seasoned scientist with the hardened look of someone who'd seen too much of the world's darkness. "What kind of situations?" "The kind where governments need deniability and scientists need protection," he gestured toward the maps. "Unauthorized weapons testing in international waters, rogue state research into biological agents using marine ecosystems as testbeds, corporate entities dumping experimental waste in ocean trenches. The mission you just extracted us from. We were tracking an autonomous underwater weapons platform being tested in Arctic waters." Lily felt a familiar chill. "Who's running the show?" Alex's expression darkened. "That's the problem. We thought we were working for a classified DARPA division, clean funding, legitimate targets, proper oversight. But something's wrong. Our handlers have been pushing us toward increasingly dangerous missions, and our intel has been compromised 3 times in the past month." He pulled out a tablet, scrolling through encrypted files. "The mission you just saved us from was supposed to be simple observation. Instead, we walked into a trap with automated defense systems that knew exactly when and where we'd arrive." Lily studied the tactical reports, her mind automatically analyzing the patterns. She'd seen this before, operations designed to fail, assets being expended, cover stories that didn't quite add up. "You think someone's using you?" she asked. "I think someone's trying to clean house," Alex replied. "Remove witnesses to operations that were never supposed to happen, starting with Phantom Fleet alumni who know too much." The implication hit her like a cold wind. If Alex was right, then her appearance on government radar wasn't coincidence. It was targeting. Chun's recruitment pitch hadn't been about needing her skills. It had been about getting her out in the open where she could be eliminated. "How many of the original fleet are still alive?" she asked. Alex consulted his tablet. "Officially none. Phantom Fleet never existed, remember? But unofficially, there were 6 operators when we disbanded. 3 died in operations that went bad over the past 3 years. 1 vanished completely. That leaves me, you, and," he paused, scrolling through classified files, "Commander Natalie Chen." Lily's blood went cold. Chun was Phantom Fleet? "Commander Natalie Chun, call sign Wraith. She was our tactical officer, brilliant, ambitious, and absolutely ruthless in combat. After disbandment, she transferred to Naval Intelligence, rapid promotion, high-level clearance, access to classified personnel files." The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Chun hadn't been recruiting her. She'd been hunting her. The extraction mission had been bait, designed to get her operational and vulnerable. If she'd followed Chun's instructions and reported to the naval station, she would have walked into a trap. "She's been tracking us," Lily said. "All of us." Alex nodded grimly. "I think Chun made a deal, information about Phantom Fleet operations in exchange for career advancement. But deals like that don't end clean. Eventually, everyone who knows. The truth becomes a liability." Lily moved to the window, watching her submarine sitting motionless in the docking bay. She'd thought she was saving Alex, but instead, she'd exposed herself to someone who wanted her dead. "There's more," Alex continued. "I found this in our handler's files." He handed her a classified document marked with clearance levels she'd never seen before. Operation Deep Silence. Systematic elimination of personnel with knowledge of unauthorized maritime operations. The document listed targets by call sign, Phantom 1 through Phantom 6. 4 names had been crossed out in red. Only 2 remained active, Phantom 4, Alex, and Phantom 2, Spectre. "They're not just hunting us," Lily realized. "They're erasing evidence that Phantom Fleet ever existed." Alex stood up, moving to a wall safe hidden behind a topographic map of the ocean floor. Inside were hard drives, encrypted files, and photographs that could bring down administrations. "I've been collecting evidence for 3 years," he said. "Every operation, every target, every order that came down through unofficial channels. If something happens to us, this gets released to journalists who specialize in government black ops." Lily looked at the intelligence cache, then back at Alex. "What do you need from me?" "I need Spectre to disappear again," he said. "Go back to being Lily Morgan, fix engines, stay invisible, let them think they won. And you?" Alex's smile was sharp as a blade. "I'm going to give them exactly what they want, a Phantom Fleet operator right out in the open, making himself an irresistible target." Lily understood immediately. "You're going to use yourself as bait. While they're focused on you, I document everything, get the evidence to people who can use it. Operation Deep Silence ends, or we all end." As the storm raged over the Arctic waters, Lily felt the weight of old loyalties and new dangers pressing down on her. She'd spent 8 years running from her past, but the past had finally cornered her. The war for Phantom Fleet survival was about to begin, and this time, there would be no extraction. Lily returned to Harborview 3. Days later, but the town felt different now, like a stage set where everyone was playing a role they didn't understand. She went through the motions of normal life, opening the shop, working on boat engines, maintaining the careful fiction of Lily Morgan, but her senses were hyper-tuned to every detail, the way Harbor Master Jenkins lingered too long when he stopped by for coffee, the unmarked sedan that appeared at the marina twice in one day, the Coast Guard cutter that passed just outside the harbor entrance. They were watching. Chun's people had found her sanctuary and were probing for weaknesses. On Thursday morning, the trap began to close. "Lily?" The voice belonged to Martha Winters, Harborview's postmistress and unofficial town gossip. She stood at the shop's entrance, holding an overnight package with hands that trembled slightly. "This came for you. Federal Express, marked urgent." Lily wiped her hands on a shop rag before accepting the package. The return address was generic, a law office in Seattle she'd never heard of. But the weight and size told her everything she needed to know. Classified documents, the kind that carried prison sentences just for possession. "Thank you, Martha." Martha hesitated at the door. "Lily, there's been some talk around town. Folks are wondering about those government people who came by last week. Harbor Master Jenkins says they were asking questions about you, about your background." "People talk," Lily replied, turning back to the engine she'd been working on. "Usually about things they don't understand." After Martha left, Lily sealed the shop and retreated to the boathouse. The package contained exactly what she'd expected: classified files from Phantom Fleet operations, stamped with security clearances that made their possession by civilians a federal crime. Someone was setting her up, creating evidence that would justify a raid, arrest, and permanent silence. Her encrypted phone buzzed once, Alex's signal. She drove to their pre-arranged meeting point, an abandoned lighthouse 15 miles up the coast, and found him waiting in civilian clothes, looking like any other tourist taking photographs of the scenic coastline. "They moved faster than I expected," he said without preamble. "We intercepted authorization for a joint task force raid. Coast Guard, FBI, Homeland Security, enough badges to make it look legitimate. They're coming for you tomorrow morning." Lily felt the familiar calm that preceded combat. "Evidence?" Alex handed her a tablet showing intercepted communications. "Search warrant based on anonymous tips about stolen naval equipment and classified. Document possession. They'll find whatever they planted, arrest you for national security violations, and you'll disappear into a black site detention center." She scrolled through the operational plans, noting the deployment times, team compositions, and rules of engagement. Overwhelming force designed to prevent resistance. "How long do I have?" 18 hours, maybe less. "They're staging at the Naval Air Station tonight." Lily studied the tactical breakdown. 12 agents, full combat gear, air support against a single woman living alone in a coastal workshop. It would be over in minutes if she played by their rules. "There's something else," Alex continued. "I tracked Chun's communications. This isn't just about eliminating witnesses. There's a buyer for Phantom Fleet intel. Foreign intelligence. Service willing to pay millions for operational details on U.S. covert underwater capabilities." The scope of the betrayal became clear. Chun wasn't just cleaning house. She was monetizing everything Phantom Fleet had done, selling their secrets to the highest bidder while eliminating the people who could expose her. "Names?" Lily asked. "Still working on it, but the transaction happens in 48 hours. If we're going to stop this, it has to be now." Lily looked toward the horizon where storm clouds were gathering again, another coastal storm rolling in from the Pacific. Weather had always been her ally, the chaotic element that separated true submariners from mere underwater operators. "I need you to do exactly what I tell you," she said. "No questions, no deviations. Can you do that?" Alex nodded. "What's the plan?" Lily smiled, and for a moment, Alex saw the young lieutenant who'd once navigated a prototype submarine through minefields to save his research team. "We're going to give Chun exactly what she wants. A Phantom Fleet operator out in the open, making herself an irresistible target." That evening, Lily made her preparations with methodical precision. She packed the submarine with everything that mattered: backup oxygen systems, encrypted communication equipment, and the evidence cache Alex had compiled. The vessel itself she prepared like a weapon: systems optimized, defensive measures armed, navigation computers. programmed with escape routes that would take her beyond sonar coverage. Most importantly, she set up the decoy. The boathouse's security system included motion sensors and underwater detection equipment she'd installed to watch for intruders, but tonight she reconfigured them to broadcast on frequencies the government task force would be monitoring. Let them see exactly what they expected, a panicked fugitive preparing to flee in the night. At midnight, she powered up the submarine's engines, letting them run loud enough to register on passive sonar systems for miles. Then she shut them down and slipped out through the boathouse's underwater exit, leaving the building empty except for shadows and electronic signatures that would fool surveillance until it was too late. By dawn, Lily was 20 miles offshore, hidden in an underwater canyon that didn't appear on any nautical charts, watching through periscope sensors as the government vessels surrounded her empty workshop. She keyed her radio to the frequency. She knew Chun would be monitoring. "This is Spectre to all units. You're a day late and several fathoms short." The response was immediate. "Spectre, this is Task Force Commander Chun. You're surrounded and have no escape routes. Surface now and you'll be treated fairly." Lily's laughter echoed across the radio waves. "Natalie, you always were better at lying than diving, but you made one mistake." "What's that?" "You assumed I was running from you." Lily started. The submarine's engines, the sound resonating through the underwater canyon like a declaration of war. "I'm not running, Natalie. I'm hunting." As she submerged deeper into the ocean currents, Lily felt the familiar rush of combat. For 8 years, she'd been hiding from her past. Now it was time to confront it head-on. The final battle for Phantom Fleet's legacy was about to begin. Chun's task force had expected to find a frightened mechanic hiding in a converted boathouse. Instead, they found an empty building rigged with enough surveillance equipment to track their every movement. The realization that they'd been outmaneuvered hit Chun like a physical blow as she stood in Lily's abandoned workshop, staring at monitors that showed her own tactical positions in real time. "Commander," one of her agents called from the boathouse. "Entrance, you need to see this." Inside the boathouse, where the submarine should have been, was a message spray-painted in military stencil letters across the concrete floor. "Phantom Fleet sends their regards. S." Chun keyed her radio with barely controlled fury. "All units, target is submersible and mobile. Switch to active pursuit protocols." But Lily was already 3 steps ahead. From her canyon hideout, she watched the government vessels deploy in formation, following search patterns she'd anticipated and prepared for. Their sonar operators were good, naval specialists with thousands of hours of experience, but they'd never tracked someone who helped write the tactical manual they were using. Lily's submarine emerged from the canyon like a shadow given substance, running silent and deep beneath the naval vessels searching for her. She switched to the encrypted frequency Alex was monitoring. "Package delivered," she transmitted. "Phase 2 is active." Alex's voice crackled back. "Confirmed. Target acquired and moving to intercept." While Chun's team hunted Lily through the coastal waters, Alex was infiltrating Chun's temporary command center at the Naval Air Station. He moved with the silent precision of someone trained in research stealth, slipping past perimeter security to plant surveillance devices that would record everything Chun's team said and did. The real battle wasn't happening underwater. It was happening in the digital realm, where classified files and recorded conversations would provide the evidence needed to expose Operation Deep Silence. Lily led Chun's vessels on a chase through underwater ridges and storm-tossed currents, always staying just beyond positive identification range, making herself irresistible bait while Alex documented their illegal pursuit of a civilian. Every sonar ping, every tactical decision, every violation of maritime regulations was being recorded and transmitted to secure servers Alex had established. "Spectre, this is Wraith." Chun's voice cut through the static. She'd taken personal command of the pursuit, directing operations from the lead vessel herself. You can't run forever. We know your oxygen capacity, your power reserves. This ends one way. Lily smiled as she navigated her submarine through a channel so narrow that Chun's larger vessels couldn't follow. Natalie, you always underestimated your equipment. Let me show you what proper maintenance can accomplish. She dove between underwater ridges with mere feet to spare, her pursuers forced to go around, losing precious time and revealing their tactical limitations. But Lily wasn't just showing off. Every maneuver was calculated to keep. Chun's team focused on her while Alex completed his real mission, accessing Chun's classified communications and downloading evidence that would prove her betrayal of Phantom Fleet. Got it. Alex's voice came through her earpiece. File transfer complete. Chun's been selling operational intelligence to a consortium based in Eastern Europe. Names, dates, transaction records, everything we need. Lily checked her instruments. She'd been submerged for 3 hours, and Chun's vessels were starting to coordinate more effectively. Time to end this game on her terms. She keyed the open frequency, broadcasting on channels monitored by Coast Guard Control, news organizations, and naval command structures. This is Lieutenant Lillian Harlow, call sign Spectre, formerly of Classified Naval Operations Unit Phantom Fleet. I am currently being pursued by a task force led by Commander Natalie Chun, who has been selling classified military intelligence to foreign entities. The radio exploded with chatter as multiple agencies attempted to establish communication. Lily continued her broadcast, reading from the evidence Alex had compiled. Chun has systematically eliminated Phantom Fleet personnel to cover her espionage activities. Operation Deep Silence, authorized under her command, has resulted in the deaths of at least 4 former operators and support personnel. Chun's voice cut through the chaos. Spectre, terminate this transmission immediately. You're broadcasting classified information on open channels. The classification was designed to hide your crimes, Natalie. Consider it declassified. Lily transmitted data packets containing Chun's communications, financial records, and operational plans to news organizations and government oversight committees simultaneously. Within minutes, the story would be in the hands of journalists who specialized in exposing government corruption. All units weapons free, Chun commanded. Target is a hostile combatant engaged in espionage activities. But her vessels were Coast Guard cutters and research ships, not combat submarines. Their weapons were designed for law enforcement and maritime security, not underwater warfare. Lily's submarine, on the other hand, had been modified with defensive systems that officially didn't exist. When Chun's lead vessel deployed active sonar at dangerous levels, Lily released acoustic countermeasures that turned the underwater battlefield into an echo chamber of false readings and ghost signatures. She navigated directly beneath Chun's command vessel, close enough that the commander could have reached down and touched the submarine's hull if the ocean hadn't been between them. Natalie, she transmitted calmly, you're outmaneuvered, outpiloted, and out of time. Your superiors are probably receiving my evidence package right now. How long before they start asking questions about your offshore accounts and foreign contacts? Chun's response was a coordinated depth charge attack by her lead vessels, but Lily was no longer where their targeting systems indicated. She'd vanished into deeper waters, using thermal layers as camouflage in a way that left Sheen's sonar. Operators from above the cloud layer, Lily watched their search patterns through her enhanced sensors. They were flying predictably now, desperation making them sloppy. She keyed her radio one final time. Natalie, check your secure communications. I think you'll find some interesting messages waiting. Chun's command vessel suddenly broke formation, changing course rapidly toward clearer radio reception. Lily knew what she was seeing, messages from Naval Command, Internal Affairs, and Congressional Intelligence Committees all demanding immediate explanations for her unauthorized operation. The trap had been sprung perfectly. Chun's illegal pursuit of a civilian had been documented and broadcast. Her financial crimes were being investigated by federal agencies, and her network of foreign buyers was being rolled up by counterintelligence. Specialists who'd been tracking the money trail Alex had uncovered. "This isn't over," Chun transmitted, her voice tight with rage. "Yes, it is," Lily replied. "Phantom Fleet is officially avenged." As Chun's vessels were recalled to face investigation, Lily disappeared into the vast ocean depths, leaving behind only the faint acoustic signature of propellers and the satisfaction of justice finally served. The Pentagon briefing room was sterile and windowless, designed to contain secrets and careers that ended badly. Natalie Chun sat at a metal table, her uniform stripped of insignia, facing a panel of investigators whose expressions ranged from disappointment to barely contained fury. Admiral James Harrison, head of Naval Intelligence Oversight, spoke with the crisp authority of someone who'd spent 30 years cleaning up messes like Chun's. "Commander Chun, we have evidence of systematic espionage, murder of naval personnel, and the unauthorized sale of classified operational intelligence to foreign entities. How do you respond?" Chun's lawyer, a nervous man in expensive suit, leaned forward. "My client exercises her right to remain silent." "Your client," Harrison interrupted, "compromised national security for personal gain and murdered American service members to cover her tracks. The evidence is overwhelming." On the wall behind the panel, monitors displayed the documentation Alex had compiled. Financial records showing payments from foreign intelligence services, communications proving Chun's role in targeting Phantom Fleet alumni and tactical plans for Operation Deep Silence that revealed its true purpose. Chun finally spoke, her voice hollow. "You don't understand the pressure we were under. Phantom Fleet knew too much, had access to operations that could embarrass multiple administrations. Someone had to make the hard choices." "The hard choice," Harrison replied coldly, "would have been following your oath instead of selling it to the highest bidder." 300 miles away, in a secure facility outside Washington, Alex Reeves watched the proceedings through encrypted video feed. He sat in a debriefing room with his own panel of investigators, but these were friendly faces, naval intelligence security specialists who'd been hunting Chun's network for months. "Your evidence provided the final pieces we needed, Agent," Samantha Donovan told him. Chun's buyers included representatives from 3 hostile intelligence services. "The damage assessment will take years, but your actions prevented the sale of active operational details that would have compromised current missions." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of 3 years of careful investigation finally lifting. "What about the other Phantom Fleet personnel, the ones who died?" Donovan consulted her files. "We've reopened all cases involving former fleet members. Preliminary findings suggest at least 4 deaths were actually assassinations designed to eliminate witnesses to classified operations." "And Lily?" Alex asked quietly. Donovan smiled slightly. "Officially, no such person exists. Lily Morgan returned to Harborview, where she continues to operate a marine mechanic shop. As far as federal records show, she's never been anything but a civilian mechanic." Alex understood. Lily had vanished back into her carefully constructed identity, protected by the same classification systems that had once hunted her. The woman who'd saved his life and exposed Chun's conspiracy had earned her anonymity. Meanwhile, in a congressional hearing room televised on C-SPAN, the fallout from Operation Deep Silence continued to reverberate through Washington's power structures. Senator Eleanor Blackwell, chairwoman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, addressed cameras with the practiced gravity of someone who understood that careers lived and died in moments like these. The systematic elimination of American naval personnel by their own government represents a betrayal of the highest order. This committee will investigate every aspect of these operations and hold accountable all individuals involved. Behind her, Large photographs showed the faces of Phantom Fleet's 6 original operators. 4 had been murdered or died under suspicious circumstances. Only 2 remained officially alive. Alex Reeves, now testifying under congressional protection about operations that had been buried under layers of classification and deliberate obscurity, and an unnamed woman whose photograph had been redacted. From all official records, the media frenzy lasted for weeks. Investigative journalists who'd received Lily's evidence packets published exposés detailing the scope of Chin's betrayal, the foreign intelligence connections, and the systematic murder of American service members. Public outrage forced congressional hearings, Pentagon investigations, and a complete overhaul of oversight procedures for classified naval operations. Chun herself disappeared into the federal prison system, her location classified for her own protection. The foreign buyers she'd been working with found their operations compromised and their assets frozen. The network that had murdered 4 operators was dismantled piece by piece. But the real victory came in the form of a small ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, where 4 previously unmarked graves received proper headstones identifying them as Phantom Fleet operators killed in the line of duty. Their families, who'd been told their loved ones died in training accidents, finally learned the truth about their sacrifices. Alex stood at attention during the ceremony, wearing his research uniform and carrying a folded flag that would be presented to the families. Behind him, honor guards fired a 21-gun salute that echoed across the rolling hills of America's most sacred ground. As the ceremony concluded, Alex noticed a woman standing at the edge of the crowd, partially hidden behind a large oak tree. She wore civilian clothes and dark sunglasses, but her posture was unmistakably military. For just a moment, their eyes met across the distance. Lily Morgan, or whoever she truly was, nodded once in acknowledgement, then turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of mourners and visitors. She'd come to pay respects to fallen comrades, but she wouldn't risk exposure by approaching closer. Alex understood. Some ghosts needed to remain ghosts. 6 months after Chun's conviction, Harborview looked exactly the same as it always had. Mist still hung in the air like memories. The ocean still pressed against the shoreline with ancient patience, and the town still felt like time moved differently here. But for Lily Morgan, everything had changed in ways that nobody else could see. She stood in her shop on a quiet Tuesday morning, hands deep in the engine compartment of Captain Reeves' fishing boat, listening to the familiar sounds of a small town waking up. The coffee shop's bell chimed as early customers arrived for their caffeine fix. A delivery truck rumbled down Harbor Street. Somewhere in the distance, a seagull cried at something that probably wasn't there. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. The bell above her shop door chimed, and Lily looked up to see a young woman in civilian clothes standing in the entrance. Clean-cut, nervous with a particular blend of confidence and uncertainty that marked recent academy graduates. You Lily Morgan?" the woman asked. Lily wiped her hands on a rag, studying the visitor. No uniform, but the bearing was unmistakably military. "Depends who's asking." Lieutenant Kelly Jang, Naval Research Division. She glanced around the workshop, noting the precision with which tools were arranged, the way every piece of equipment showed signs of meticulous maintenance. "I was told you might be able to help with a problem I'm having." Lily's expression didn't change, but her senses sharpened. "What kind of problem?" Kelly glanced around the bay shop, then lowered her voice. "The kind that involves research submarines that officially don't exist and operators who need to disappear for a while." For a long moment, the two women studied each other. Lily saw something she recognized from 10 years ago, young, idealistic. Caught in a system that used good people and discarded them when convenient. Kelly saw something the rumors had only hinted at, a legend who'd walked away from the machine and somehow survived. "I don't know what you're talking about," Lily said finally. Kelly reached into her jacket and pulled out a photograph, a thermal image showing a submarine threading through underwater canyons at depths no conventional vessel could reach. This was taken 3 weeks ago off the California coast. The vessel was testing a new generation of stealth technology that doesn't appear in any official research program. Lily glanced at the photo, then back to Kelly's face. Could be anyone. Could be, Kelly agreed. But the navigation pattern matched protocols from a training program that was classified above my clearance level. When I asked my commanding officer about it, he told me some questions were better left unasked. Lily set down her tools and walked to the coffee maker in the corner, pouring 2 cups with practiced efficiency. She handed one to Kelly and gestured toward a pair of folding chairs near the window. "What's your real problem, Lieutenant?" Kelly accepted the coffee gratefully. "There's a program, officially it doesn't exist, but they're recruiting operators for missions that fall outside normal naval protocols. The briefings are compartmentalized, the missions are classified beyond anything I've seen, and the operators who accept these assignments, they change." "How?" Lily asked, though she already knew the answer. "They become isolated, paranoid. Some of them stop talking to their families, stop maintaining relationships outside the program. A few have had accidents during training. Exercises." Kelly's voice dropped to a whisper. "I think they're rebuilding Phantom Fleet." The coffee cup trembled slightly in Lily's hand before she set it down. "And they want you. They say I have the right psychological profile, exceptional piloting skills, limited family connections, willingness to follow orders without questioning the bigger picture." Kelly looked directly at Lily. "They say I remind them of someone called Spectre." Lily stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet harbor where nothing ever seemed to change. But change was coming anyway, in the form of young operators being drawn into the same web that had once trapped her. "The original Phantom Fleet," she said quietly, "was created to handle missions too sensitive for regular naval channels. We explored waters that didn't exist on any map, extracted people who were never supposed to be there, and documented threats that couldn't be acknowledged officially." She turned back to Kelly. "For a while, we thought we were serving our country. But programs like that, they create their own momentum. Soon you're not just protecting national security, you're protecting the program itself. And when the program becomes more important than the people in it, people start dying." "Is there another way?" Kelly asked. Lily smiled for the first time since the conversation began. "There's always another way. But it requires courage to walk away from everything you think you want." She moved to her desk and pulled out a business card, plain white cardstock with only a phone number, printed in simple black text. "If you decide you want a different kind of life, call this number. Tell them Lily sent you. They'll help you disappear from the program's radar." Kelly took the card, studying the number. "What about you? Are you really just a mechanic now?" Lily looked toward the boathouse behind the shop, where her submarine sat in perfect readiness, maintained with the kind of care that suggested it might be needed at any moment. "I fix things that are broken," she said. "Sometimes that means engines, sometimes it means people, and sometimes it means systems that have lost their way." As Kelly prepared to leave, she turned back one final time. "The program handlers told me Spectre was dead." Lily's smile was enigmatic. "Maybe she is. But ghosts have a way of inspiring the living." After Kelly left, Lily returned to Captain Reeves' engine, working with steady hands while her mind processed the implications of what she'd learned. The ghosts of her past were rising again, taking new forms and hunting new victims. But this time, she wouldn't be running. In the boathouse behind the shop, the submarine systems hummed quietly in standby mode, ready for whatever mission might come next. Because some legends never really die, they just wait in the shadows for the moment when they're needed most. And in the growing twilight of a coastal evening, Spectre was very much alive, watching over those who couldn't protect themselves and ready to dive into darkness one more time if that's what justice required. The phone on her desk rang once. A secure line that very few people knew existed. Lily answered on the second ring. Morgan Marine Mechanics. "Morgan," came Alex's familiar voice. "We've got a situation." Young operator named Kelly Jang just walked away from a classified recruitment program. "They're going to come looking for her." Lily smiled, watching the last light fade from the western horizon. "Let them come. Phantom Fleet protects its own." "Copy that, Spectre. Welcome back to the fight." As night fell over Harborview, the quiet mechanic who fixed broken things prepared for another mission that officially would never happen. Because some promises were too important to break, and some fights were too necessary to avoid. The legend of Spectre lived on, not in classified files or naval records, but in the courage of those who refused to let good people disappear into the machinery of institutional darkness. And in a small coastal town where time moved differently, a woman who had chosen her own identity continued to write her story on her own terms, one rescued soul at a time. The news came on a rainy Thursday morning. A research submarine had gone missing in the Mariana Trench. 7 scientists aboard. Their last transmission cut short by something the Navy officially described as equipment malfunction. The research vessel had been testing new deep-sea mapping technology in international waters when contact was lost. What the official reports didn't mention was that the submarine had been exploring an underwater thermal vent that had suddenly appeared on sonar maps 3 weeks earlier, a vent that emitted radiation signatures unlike anything previously documented. Lily was replacing a propeller shaft on a commercial fishing boat when her encrypted phone vibrated with a message from Alex. "Ghost ship detected. Official response compromised. Clock ticking." Within an hour, she had locked up. The shop posted a sign about emergency family business, and disappeared into the boathouse. The submarine systems were already running a pre-launch diagnostic, and her wetsuit lay ready beside specialized diving equipment designed for extreme depths. This wasn't an official rescue mission. No government agency had authorized it. Naval Command had provided resources. This was Phantom Fleet's true legacy, the determination that no one would be abandoned, even when official channels deemed them expendable. 12 hours later, Lily's submarine slipped beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, heading toward coordinates that didn't appear in any search and rescue bulletin. Beside her in the navigation seat sat Kelly Jang, her young face set with determination as she monitored sonar arrays. "You sure about this?" Lily asked as they descended past depths where sunlight could penetrate. "Once we're at operating depth, there's no turning back." Kelly nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "Those scientists have families. People who love them. The Navy's writing them off as an acceptable loss because of what they might have seen down there." "And what exactly did they see?" Lily asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Kelly brought up classified images on the main screen, thermal scans showing a massive structure partially embedded in the ocean floor, geometric patterns too precise to be natural formation. "Whatever it is, it's not ours. And it's not Russian or Chinese either. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database." Lily studied the images with the practiced eye of someone who had seen things no civilian was supposed to know existed. They found something down there. Something that changes everything we think we know. And now someone wants to make sure that discovery stays buried along with the witnesses. Kelly looked at her with newfound understanding. This is what Phantom Fleet was really about, wasn't it? Not just black ops and deniable operations, but protecting the truth, even when that truth is inconvenient for those in power. Lily didn't answer directly, but her silence was confirmation enough. As they descended deeper into the abyss, the submarine's exterior lights illuminated an underwater world few humans had ever witnessed. ancient rock formations, strange bioluminescent creatures, and the endless, pressing darkness of the deep ocean. The rescue mission would push both women and their vessel to the absolute limits of endurance. The pressure at such depths would crush a conventional submarine like an aluminum can. The cold would freeze exposed flesh in seconds. And somewhere in that darkness waited whatever had caused a research team to disappear without trace. But Lily Morgan, Spectre, had never been afraid of the dark. She had made her home in shadows, found strength in being underestimated, and turned invisibility into her greatest weapon. If anyone could bring those scientists back alive, it was the ghost who refused to stay dead. "Contact," Kelly announced suddenly, her voice tight with concentration. Faint acoustic signature, bearing 045, depth approximately 37,000 feet. Lily adjusted course, guiding the submarine toward the signal. "Life signs?" Kelly's fingers danced across the sensor controls. "Intermittent. They're running on emergency power, minimal life support. I'm picking up 7 distinct heat signatures. They're alive, but not for long if we don't reach them soon." As they approached the stricken research vessel, Lily activated the submarine's external cameras. The image that appeared on their screen sent a chill through both women. The research submarine was intact but trapped, pinned beneath a massive section of what appeared to be metallic wreckage. And beyond it, partially illuminated by the research vessel's dying lights, loomed a structure that defied conventional explanation. Curved surfaces that reflected light in impossible ways, markings that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. "My God," Kelly whispered. "What is that?" Lily began preparations for the rescue operation, her mind already calculating angles, pressures, and the limited time they had before the research vessel's life support failed completely. "That," she said quietly, "is why Phantom Fleet exists. Some discoveries are too important to be controlled by any single government or agency. Some truths belong to all humanity, not just those with the highest security clearance." As she maneuvered their submarine into position beside the trapped research vessel, Lily felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her, not just for the 7 lives hanging in the balance, but for the knowledge they had uncovered, knowledge that powerful interests wanted buried forever. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was a race to preserve a truth that could change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. And Spectre, the ghost who had refused to disappear, was perhaps the only person alive with the skills and courage to ensure that truth survived. The docking procedure at such extreme depths required precision that bordered on the impossible. A miscalculation of even a few millimeters could result in catastrophic pressure failure. That would kill everyone instantly. Lily's hands moved across the controls with the certainty of someone who had trained for exactly this scenario, even though no such training officially existed. "Transfer tube extending," Kelly reported, monitoring the systems with focused intensity. "Structural integrity holding. Pressure differential within acceptable parameters." Through the external cameras, they could see movement inside the research vessel, figures in emergency pressure suits gathering at the airlock, their motions betraying both relief and urgency. "First survivor entering transfer tube," Kelly announced, vital signs elevated but stable. One by one, the research team made the perilous journey between vessels, each transfer bringing them closer to safety, but also increasing the strain on their submarine systems. As the 5th scientist cleared the airlock, warning lights began flashing across Lily's control panel. "Pressure buildup in the surrounding water column," she noted, her voice calm despite the danger. "Something's changing in the structure. It's responding to our presence." The massive object that had trapped the research vessel was shifting, surfaces realigning in ways that defied conventional physics. The movement was creating dangerous pressure waves that threatened to tear both submarines apart. "2 more too." "Transfer," Kelly reported. Lead scientist and medical officer. Lily made split-second calculations, weighing the increasing danger against the lives still at risk. Tell them to move fast. We've got maybe 3 minutes before this whole area becomes unstable." As the final 2 survivors made their way through the transfer tube, the underwater environment around them transformed from merely dangerous to actively hostile. The strange structure was now emitting pulses of energy that interfered with their navigation systems and created microcurrents that buffeted their vessel like underwater turbulence. "Everyone's aboard," Kelly confirmed as the airlock sealed behind the last scientist. "Transfer complete." Lily immediately began retreat procedures, her hands dancing across the controls as she piloted the submarine away from the increasingly unstable environment. Behind them, the abandoned research vessel groaned under mounting pressure before imploding with a force that sent shockwaves rippling through the water. "Hold on," Lily warned as she pushed their submarine's engines beyond recommended limits, climbing towards safer depths while the mysterious structure receded into the darkness below them. In the cramped rear compartment, 7 rescued scientists huddled in shock and exhaustion, their faces pale beneath emergency breathing masks. Among them, Dr. Eleanor Wright, the expedition leader, stared at their saviors with a mixture of gratitude and dawning recognition. "You're not Navy," she said to Kelly, who was distributing emergency rations and checking the survivors for injuries. "This isn't an official rescue." "No," Kelly admitted. "It's not." Dr. Wright's gaze shifted to the pilot's compartment, where Lily sat silhouetted against the instrument lights. "Then who are you people?" Kelly smiled slightly. "Let's just say we're the ones who show up when everyone else has written you off." As their submarine ascended through the crushing depths toward the distant surface, Lily monitored their surroundings with heightened vigilance. They weren't safe yet, not from the ocean's dangers, and certainly not from the forces that had been willing to sacrifice 7 lives to keep a discovery buried. "They're going to come after us, aren't they?" Kelly asked quietly, joining Lily in the control room after stabilizing the survivors. "Once they realize we've rescued the research team." Lily nodded, her eyes never leaving the navigation displays. "They'll try, but first they have to find us. And finding ghosts isn't as easy as they think." "What happens to the scientists?" "To what they discovered? That's up to them," Lily replied. "Our job is to give them back their voices, their choice. What they do with the truth they found down there, that's their responsibility now." As they continued their ascent, Lily felt a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. Phantom Fleet had been created to operate in shadows to do the government's deniable dirty work. But she had transformed that legacy into something else entirely, a force that protected truth-seekers and whistleblowers, that preserved knowledge too important to be controlled or suppressed. She wasn't just Spectre anymore, the ghost who had disappeared. She was becoming something more, a guardian of last resort for those abandoned by the systems meant to protect them. And as their submarine finally broke the surface under the cover of darkness, miles from any shipping lane or patrol route, Lily knew that her days of anonymity in Harborview were numbered. The quiet life she had built was coming to an end, but perhaps that was necessary. Perhaps it was time for Spectre to stop hiding and start inspiring others to follow the same path. "Where do we go from here?" Kelly asked as they rendezvoused with the unmarked vessel that would transport the scientists to safety. Lily looked at the young woman who had chosen to risk everything for people she'd never met, for a truth she might never fully understand. She saw in Kelly the same determination, the same moral compass that had once driven her own choices. "We build something new," Lily said. "Not Phantom Fleet as it was, but as it should have been. A network of people committed to protecting those who uncover inconvenient truths, who challenge powerful interests, who refuse to let knowledge be buried for political convenience." As the rescued scientists were transferred to the waiting vessel, Dr. Wright approached Lily one last time. "I don't know who you are or why you saved us when our own government abandoned us," she said. "But what we found down there, it changes everything. The world deserves to know." Lily nodded. That's why we came for you. Not just to save 7 lives, but to save the truth you discovered. Dr. Wright pressed a small data drive into Lily's hand. This contains everything we documented. If anything happens to us, nothing will happen to you, Lily assured her. Not anymore. You're under the protection of ghosts now. As they parted ways, the scientists to tell their story, Lily, and Kelly to disappear once more, Lily felt the weight of her past transforming into something lighter, something with purpose. For years, she had been running from who she was, but now she was running toward who she needed to become. The legend of Spectre was changing, evolving from a solitary ghost into something more powerful, a beacon for others who refused to accept comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths, who believed that some knowledge belonged to all humanity, not just to those with the highest security clearances. And as their submarine slipped beneath the waves once more, heading toward a future that none of them could fully predict, Lily Morgan, mechanic, pilot, embraced her true identity at last. Not as a weapon to be wielded by others, but as a force for truth in a world increasingly comfortable with deception. They called her a ghost because they couldn't control her, couldn't silence her, couldn't make her disappear when it was convenient. And now, that ghost was about to save everyone, not just 7 scientists, but anyone brave enough to stand up for truth in a world that often preferred comfortable lies. The revelation shook the world like an earthquake, irrefutable evidence of non-human technology discovered in the deepest part of the ocean. Dr. Eleanor Wright and her team held press conferences, published findings, and testified before international committees. Their data, backed by physical samples and detailed analysis, could not be dismissed or explained away. The government agencies that had abandoned them to die now scrambled to control the narrative, claiming they'd authorized the rescue mission all along. But Dr. Wright was clear in every interview. Official channels left us for dead. We were saved by people who value truth over politics, people who risk everything to ensure knowledge isn't buried for convenience. 3 months after the rescue, Lily sat in her workshop watching CNN as experts debated the implications of what was now being called the Mariana Discovery. The small television flickered with images of the structure, analysis of its impossible materials, and theories about its origins. The world was changing in real time, humanity's understanding of its place in the universe evolving with each new revelation. The bell above her door chimed, and Lily looked up to see Alex standing there, dressed in civilian clothes, but carrying himself with the unmistakable bearing of someone who had important news. "They know," he said without preamble. Lily nodded, unsurprised. "How much time do we have?" "Less than you'd think." The rescue mission was too precise, too professional. "They've been analyzing the sonar signatures, tracking patterns. They know it was a Phantom Fleet operation. And they've traced it to me." Alex's expression confirmed her suspicion. Chun had contingency protocols in place before her arrest. Automatic triggers if certain operations were detected. Her people may be compromised, but her systems are still running. Lily moved to the window, watching as 2 unfamiliar cars parked across the street. Men in dark suits emerging with the coordinated movements of federal agents. "Looks like our time just ran out," she observed calmly. Alex joined her at the window. "You knew this would happen. I counted on it." Lily turned to face him. "The quiet life was never meant to be permanent, Alex. It was just a place to gather strength, to wait for the right moment." "And that moment is now?" There was understanding in his voice, perhaps even relief that they were finally moving beyond hiding. Dr. Wright and her team did their part. They brought the truth to light. Now it's our turn to make sure that light isn't extinguished. Lily moved to her workbench, pressing a sequence on what appeared to be an ordinary calculator. A hidden compartment in the floor slid open, revealing equipment, documents, and digital storage devices. "I've been preparing for this day since we exposed Chun," she explained as she quickly gathered essential items. The network is already in place. Former operators, scientists, journalists, people committed to protecting whistleblowers and truth-tellers. Alex looked impressed. You've been busy for someone in hiding. I learned from Chun's mistakes. She used Phantom Fleet's skills for personal gain, to accumulate power and wealth. I'm using them to build something that can't be corrupted or controlled by any single government or agency. Through the window, they could see the agents beginning to move toward the shop, speaking into communications devices, coordinating their approach. Kelly's waiting with the secondary transport, Alex informed her. Dr. Wright and her team have already been moved to the safe location. The data from the Mariana structure is being distributed through secure channels to research institutions. Worldwide, too many copies in too many places to ever completely suppress. Lily smiled at the elegant simplicity of their contingency plan. Then it's time for Spectre to stop being a ghost and start being a beacon. As the agents approached her door, Lily activated a final sequence on her workbench. Throughout the shop and boathouse, hard drives were being wiped, documents shredded, and all traces of her specialized equipment systematically erased. The submarine itself had been relocated days ago to a facility only she and Kelly knew about. Back door? Alex suggested, nodding toward the rear of the shop. But Lily shook her head, surprising him. No, I'm done running. The agents entered with federal authority, hands near concealed weapons, eyes scanning for threats or escape routes. Their leader, a stern-faced woman in her 50s, approached Lily directly. Lillian Harlow? I'm Director Catherine Reynolds. Naval Intelligence. You're wanted for questioning regarding unauthorized use of military technology, interference with a federal investigation, and removal of classified materials. Lily regarded her calmly. Impressive list of charges for someone who officially doesn't exist. Reynolds didn't flinch. We both know you exist, Lieutenant Harlow. Just as we both know you were responsible for the unauthorized rescue of the Mariana research team. Unauthorized? Lily raised an eyebrow. Interesting choice of words for a mission that saved 7 American scientists who had been abandoned to die. They were in a quarantine situation, Reynolds countered. The discovery they made was deemed too sensitive for immediate extraction. You mean too inconvenient, Lily corrected. Too disruptive to power structures that prefer controlling information rather than serving the public good. Alex watched the exchange with growing tension, aware that each agent in the room was assessing him as a potential threat. But Lily remained perfectly composed, as if this confrontation was exactly what she had been waiting for. Reynolds signaled to her team, Ms. Harlow, you'll need to come with us. We have a lot to discuss. I agree completely, Lily replied, surprising everyone. We absolutely have a lot to discuss, starting with Operation Lighthouse. The name landed like a stone in still water, sending ripples of confusion through the assembled agents. Even Reynolds, trained to hide her reactions, couldn't conceal a flicker of surprise. I don't know what you're talking about, she said carefully. Don't you? Lily pulled a small device from her pocket, a secure communications hub connected to the network she'd been building for months. Right now, 27 former Phantom Fleet operators, researchers, and support personnel are coming out of hiding. They're bringing with them evidence of programs that officially don't exist, operations that were never authorized, and discoveries that have been deliberately suppressed. She activated the device, which projected a holographic display, showing locations lighting up across a global map, each point representing a team member going public simultaneously. The age of shadows is over, Director Reynolds. The age of light begins now. Reynolds stared at the display, comprehension dawning on her face. You're not just exposing past operations. You're starting something new. Not new, Lily corrected. Just visible. What we've always been meant to be. Protectors of truth, not tools of deception. The director signaled her agents to stand down, her tactical assessment shifting in real time. You realize the chaos this will cause? The diplomatic incidents? The public panic? I realize the growth it will inspire, Lily countered. The innovation that comes when knowledge is shared rather than hoarded. The cooperation that becomes possible when we face truth together rather than hiding in comfortable lies. She took a step toward Reynolds, her voice low but intense. Humanity just discovered we're not alone in the universe. That changes everything. Not just scientifically, but philosophically, spiritually, socially. That kind of truth doesn't belong to governments or agencies. It belongs to everyone. For a long moment, Reynolds considered her options, clearly calculating risks and potential outcomes. Finally, she made a decision that surprised her own team. I want to hear more about this network of yours, she said. Not as your adversary, but as someone who spent 30 years watching classification systems be abused to hide incompetence, corruption, and worse. Lily studied her, seeing something familiar in the older woman's eyes. The same weariness. The same moral compass that had driven her own decision to break cover. Then let's talk, she agreed. Not here, and not in any government facility. Neutral ground, Reynolds nodded. I can arrange that. But understand, I'm not committing to anything beyond a conversation. A conversation is how everything begins, Lily replied, including revolutions. As Reynolds and her team departed with arrangements for a future meeting, Alex turned to Lily with newfound respect. You planned this all along, didn't you? Not just to escape them, but to recruit them. Not all of them, Lily clarified. Just the ones who remember what service really means. Protecting people, not institutions. Preserving truth, not power. She looked around the workshop that had been her sanctuary for years, already mentally letting it go. It's time for Phantom Fleet to evolve, Alex. From ghosts to lighthouses. Lighthouses? He repeated, considering the metaphor. Beacons that guide people safely through darkness and storm, Lily explained. That warn of dangers and illuminate paths forward. That stand strong against wind and wave, because their purpose is too important to fail. As they prepared to leave Harborview behind, Lily took one last look at the life she had built. The quiet anonymity, the careful isolation, the constant vigilance. It had served its purpose, giving her time to heal, to plan, to build something stronger than what had been broken. Now it was time for something more. The meeting took place 3 days later at a private estate overlooking the Pacific Neutral Territory owned by a technology billionaire known for his support of scientific transparency and whistleblower protections. Director Reynolds arrived with a small team of trusted advisors, while Lily brought Alex, Kelly, and Dr. Wright. The conversation lasted hours, ranging from the philosophical implications of the Mariana discovery to the practical challenges of reforming classification systems designed more for institutional protection than public service. What you're proposing, Reynolds said finally, is a fundamental restructuring of how sensitive information is categorized and shared. What I'm proposing, Lily corrected, is returning to first principles. Security classifications were created to protect methodologies and sources, not to bury inconvenient discoveries or shield officials from accountability. Dr. Wright spoke up, her scientific precision adding weight to the discussion. The Mariana structure represents knowledge that transcends national interests. Its study requires international cooperation, diverse perspectives, specialized expertise from dozens of fields. And if that knowledge proves dangerous, Reynolds challenged, if the technology could be weaponized? All knowledge can be weaponized, Lily acknowledged. But keeping it locked in black sites and compartmentalized programs doesn't prevent misuse. It just ensures that only a select few have the opportunity to abuse it. Kelly, who had been quietly observing, added her perspective. The system taught me to follow orders without question, to accept that some secrets were too important for ordinary people to handle. But when I saw those scientists abandoned because their discovery was inconvenient, I realized the system wasn't protecting people. It was protecting itself. Reynolds studied each of them in turn, her expression thoughtful. "What exactly are you asking of me?" "Not asking," Lily clarified. "Offering a partnership between your institutional knowledge and our network's flexibility. A new approach that preserves necessary secrecy while eliminating unjustifiable classification. And if I decline, then we proceed without you. The network is already active, Director Reynolds. The information is already flowing. The only question is whether you want to help guide that flow or stand against it." The challenge hung in the air between them, a moment of decision that would ripple outward in ways none of them could fully predict. Finally, Reynolds reached a conclusion. "I'll need guarantees. Protocols for genuine national security concerns. A verification system to prevent reckless disclosures." "All reasonable," Lily agreed, "as long as national security isn't defined as political convenience or avoiding embarrassment." Reynolds almost smiled. "Lieutenant Harlow, I've spent 3 decades in intelligence work. I can tell the difference. Then we have a foundation to build on." As the meeting concluded with tentative agreements and future plans, Lily stepped outside onto the estate's cliffside terrace. The Pacific stretched before her, vast and mysterious, hiding secrets beneath its surface just as governments hid truths beneath layers of classification. Alex joined her, leaning against the railing. "So," he said, "not a ghost anymore." "No," she agreed. "Something more substantial, more visible, and more vulnerable," he pointed out. "Lighthouses get hit by storms, Lily. They become targets. That's why they're built to last," she replied. "And why they're never alone. One lighthouse can fail, but a network of them ensures that ships always find safe harbor." She turned to face him, the setting sun casting her profile in gold and shadow. "The world is changing, Alex. The Mariana discovery is just the beginning. Humanity is about to face questions we've never had to answer before, challenges we've never had to meet. We can face them together in the light, or we can retreat into shadows and let fear guide our decisions. And you've chosen light." Lily nodded. "I spent 8 years as a ghost, hiding from what I knew, from who I was. I don't regret it. Those years gave me perspective, showed me what needed to change. But now it's time to stand visible on the shore, to guide rather than hide." As darkness fell over the Pacific, lights began to appear along the coastline, harbors, homes, navigation beacons, each one pushing back against the night in its own small way. Lily watched them emerge, a constellation of human determination to create safety in darkness. "That's what we're building," she said softly. "Not just one light, but many. Not just one truth, but a commitment to all truth, however challenging, however disruptive." Alex considered her words, then offered his own metaphor. Phantom Fleet was about moving unseen through dangerous waters. What you're creating now is about making those waters less dangerous for everyone. "Exactly." Lily smiled, feeling a sense of purpose that transcended personal safety or comfort. "They called me a ghost because they thought invisibility was my strength. But my real power was always seeing clearly in darkness, and now I'm going to help others see too." The following week saw the emergence of what media outlets began calling the Lighthouse Initiative, a global network of scientists, former intelligence officers, military specialists, and transparency advocates dedicated to reforming how sensitive information was classified and shared. Their first major action was the coordinated release of documentation about the Mariana structure, providing research institutions worldwide with data that had previously been restricted to a handful of government agencies. The release was conducted with careful protocols. Certain technical details remained protected. Potential weapons applications were identified and secured. But the fundamental discovery and its scientific implications became available to humanity's best minds regardless of nationality. The response was electric. Universities established new departments dedicated to studying the implications. Religious leaders began theological discussions about humanity's place in a potentially populated universe. Ordinary citizens engaged with complex scientific concepts with unprecedented enthusiasm. And through it all, Lily Harlow, once known only as Spectre, the ghost who couldn't be found, became the visible face of a movement that was transforming how institutions shared knowledge with the people they supposedly served. It wasn't without cost. There were threats, both legal and physical. Government agencies resistant to change tried to discredit her. Former colleagues accused her of betraying oaths and endangering national security. But for every attack, there were dozens of supporters, whistleblowers who had faced retaliation, researchers whose discoveries had been buried, citizens who believed in their right to understand the world they lived in. 6 months after the Lighthouse Initiative launched, Lily stood on the stage of an international technology conference, preparing to address representatives from 50 countries and hundreds of research institutions. As she waited for her introduction, she caught sight of familiar faces in the audience. Kelly in the front row, Alex near an exit, old habits died hard. Dr. Wright with her research team, and even Director Reynolds, who had become an unexpected ally in navigating institutional resistance. The moderator finished her introduction, and applause filled the auditorium as Lily stepped to the microphone. The crowd before her represented humanity's collective intelligence, scientists, policymakers, ethicists, technologists, all gathered to discuss how the Mariana discovery would shape their shared future. 8 years ago, Lily began, her voice steady and clear. I disappeared. I became a ghost, hidden from a system I no longer trusted. I believed then that invisibility was safety, that shadows were shelter. The audience grew quiet, sensing the personal weight behind her words. I was wrong, she continued. Shadows don't protect us. They isolate us. They prevent us from seeing connections, from building trust, from finding common purpose. They turn potential allies into perceived threats, and shared challenges into solitary burdens. She gestured toward the main screen where images of the Mariana structure appeared, its impossible geometry, its materials that defied current science, its indisputable evidence of non-human intelligence. This discovery doesn't belong to any nation or agency. It belongs to humanity. It challenges us to think beyond our borders, beyond our generation, beyond our species. It asks us what kind of future we want to build, one where knowledge is hoarded by the powerful, or one where it flows to those best equipped to use it wisely. Lily paused, looking out at the diverse faces watching her, people from dozens of cultures, backgrounds, belief systems, all united by curiosity and concern for their shared future. The Lighthouse Initiative isn't just about government, transparency, or scientific cooperation. It's about a fundamental choice, whether we face our greatest challenges divided by secrecy and suspicion, or united by shared understanding and common purpose. She thought about her journey, from dedicated naval officer to disillusioned fugitive, from isolated mechanic to public advocate. Each phase had taught her something essential about herself and the world she wanted to help create. They called me a ghost because they couldn't control me, she said, her voice growing stronger. Because I refused to disappear when it was convenient for those in power. Because I believe some truths are too important to bury, some discoveries too significant to hide. The audience was with her now, leaning forward, engaged not just with her words but with the vision she represented. But I'm not a ghost anymore. None of us need to be. We can stand in the light together, facing truth with courage rather than hiding from it in fear. We can be lighthouses for each other, steady, visible, reliable guides through whatever storms may come. As she concluded her address to resounding applause, Lily felt the final transformation of her identity complete. Spectre truly was gone, not because that part of her had died, but because it had evolved into something more powerful. The skills she had honed in shadows now served her in light. The courage that had kept her alive as a ghost now helped her stand visible before the world. They had called her a ghost because they thought it diminished her, made her less real, less substantial. They never understood that her apparent invisibility was always a choice, a tactical decision, not an existential state. Now she had made a different choice. Not to haunt from shadows, but to illuminate from heights. Not to be forgotten, but to be remembered. Not to whisper, but to proclaim. And as she looked out at the people who had joined her cause, former operatives finding new purpose, scientists pursuing truth without political constraints, ordinary citizens demanding the right to understand their world, she knew that the transformation wasn't just personal. It was collective. One by one, ghosts were stepping into the light, becoming beacons. And together, they were illuminating a path toward a future where secrecy served safety rather than power, where knowledge flowed to those who could use it wisely, where humanity faced its greatest challenges united rather than divided. They had called her a ghost because they couldn't see her. Now they called her a lighthouse because they couldn't look away. And in that transformation lay not just her redemption, but the potential for something greater, a world where truth, however challenging, was seen as the foundation of wisdom, rather than a threat to stability. Spectre had saved individuals. Lily Harlow was helping save everyone, not from external threats, but from the darkness of ignorance, fear, and division that had always been humanity's most dangerous enemies. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.